Love is part 2. We've been looking and walking through. It's what we're going to do. Walk through 1 Corinthians chapter 13. And if we could, let's all read 1 Corinthians 13 together. Read it along with me. Now, listen, first service was kind of low. Not in attendance, but their voices kind of low. I think we should read it with a little chutzpah. A little gumption. It's the word of God. Let's read it out. Read it along with me. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. And if I give away all I have, if I deliver up my body to be burned, but have not love, I gain nothing. In our text today, love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. Now, last week we talked about how we as Christ followers are not to be clanging cymbals, noisy gongs. And Adrian took away my clanging cymbal, my noisy gong. And I'm really disappointed. But Adrian probably was thinking of you when he did that. Well, today we move along in that text. And yes, we are not to be noisy. We're not to be clanging. We're not to be, we're not supposed to be annoying. That was kind of the idea last week. Christians are not supposed to be nothing. That's what the text says. In your life as a believer, you are not supposed to be a nobody, a nothing. But this is what we are if we say we follow Jesus and we remove love out of the equation of our life. In the text, I can have all of the amazing gifts. I can speak the gospel, and this was absolutely true as Paul wrote this in the first century. That people could speak in other languages communicating the gospel of Jesus. Read Acts 2. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but I don't have love, clanging cymbal, a noisy gong. Verse 2 today. If I have prophetic powers, this ability to preach, like Jeremiah, Isaiah, Elijah, if I can understand all mysteries and have all knowledge about the Word of God and God's plans for the world and so forth, and if I have all faith, like this amazing, crazy, unbelievable sort of faith, that I could move mountains that Jesus talked about. What an amazing giftedness. What an amazing potential. You might say if somebody had all of that, we might say, man, that's a super Christian, man. They are like on top of it. However, in Paul's mind, you take love out of that equation. But if I have not love, we're nothing. Nothing. None of that matters. And he goes on, if I give away all I have, deliver up my body to be burned, and have not love, I gain nothing. I don't know why we're not moving forward here. Help me out. No? Can you guys help? There we go. You see, the idea today is don't be a nothing. Look to your neighbor, look to someone around you with enthusiasm. Don't be a nothing. Go ahead. Again, some of you have way too much fun with that, but it is a good opportunity. Don't be a nothing. Christians are not supposed to be nothing. And I thought about all week long, Daniel, you had the cymbal, you had the drum, that worked, that was good. How are you going to illustrate nothing? And you want to know what I came up with? The best way to illustrate nothing is with nothing. There's no way to illustrate that. Such is the life of the believer who does not have love in the equation of their life. You can have all the potential. You can have all of the gifts. You could change the world. So powerful. So like you could do so much. But according to Paul, you take love out of that, you're nothing. Dr. Charles Jackson, who used to attend church here, him and his wife moved to Virginia. He's like a scientist, a certified genius, honest to goodness. He was an amazing man, good buddy of mine. We still keep in touch. He said there are two things that the human mind cannot comprehend. He said infinity and nothingness. That's what he said. I believe him when he said that. Like we can't comprehend it almost. It's just so hard. And that's what Paul says we are if we do not love. If we don't have that, we're nothing. Don't be a nothing. I don't know about you, but as a Christ follower, I don't want to be annoying to other people. I don't want to be a clanging cymbal, a noisy gong. And I certainly don't want to be I am nothing. I don't want that. I don't want my life to count for nothing. I don't want at the end of my life to be able to look back. It was all for naught, Daniel. You accomplished zero. You had no impact. Your life made no sort of mark on the world or anyone else. That's not what I want. And I can tell you as a Christ follower, that is not God's will for us. It's the opposite of that. We are called to be a peculiar people. We are called to impact the world. We're called to be salt and light. We're called to make a difference everywhere we go, to everyone we're around, our homes, our workplace, our community. We're called to be a light for the gospel. We're called to be influential, not to be a nothing. But yet, without love, that's exactly what we will be. So let's dive into the text, because I don't want to be a nothing, and I hope that you don't want to be a nothing either. So let's see how. Well, first, real love is not having to outrank people. When we feel like I have to outrank so-and-so, these people over here, that person, I gotta be better than them and outrank them, that's not love. Real love doesn't do that. Notice what he says. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4. Love is patient and kind. We dealt with that last week. Love does not envy or boast. We're going to see, like in this passage, at least two of them, like these two words are going to come together for a thought, for a principle. Love does not envy and it does not boast. And these two ideas are related. They are not separate. I mean, they're different, but they're related around the same idea. See, the 10th commandment in Scripture is, thou shalt not covet. Thou shalt not envy, you might say. To envy is to take an achievement, a possession, a thing from someone else, right? To want it for yourself, to hope that they do not have that thing or that achievement or whatever. To want something from someone else so that they do not have it. I want it for me. That is to envy. That is to covet. And it is sinful. You see, James 4 tells us that basically all fighting, all quarreling, any time when we do not get along with someone else, it is derived out of this idea, I want what you have, I want what you did, I want that glory, I want that achievement, whatever it is, I want it for me. I want that money, I want that stuff, I want that car, I want that praise, I want that job, I want that house. Whether it's a possession, it doesn't even have to be a possession. But I don't want you to have it, I want it for me. I'm coveting, I'm envying. And James goes on to say, that's why y'all can't get along. And it's true in our lives. Oftentimes when people cannot get along and they quarrel and fight, it's because of an inward position. See, the envy is inward. It's in here. It's in a person's heart. Oftentimes it's in my heart. Envy, jealousy, greed, all related. Covetousness. It is oftentimes expressed when someone else has something, achieves something inwardly, we envy. Boasting is often the outward expression, reaction to envy, isn't it? When I want something someone else might have, or something good, someone else gets good news, oftentimes our reaction toward that when we are envious is we start to boast. We try to take our achievements, our possessions, our good news, our good things, whatever that may be, whether it's physical or immaterial, and brag about it. We try to take what someone else has or does or something like that and take it off of the top shelf and take whatever we have and put it on the top shelf. Oftentimes, we are guilty of boasting in very overt ways. Like there's just no holding back. Someone is boasting, right? Oftentimes, people can boast in very subtle ways. You've probably been around somebody who just can't help but just kind of boast and just kind of talk about what they've done, talk about how that's going, talk about this thing. And oftentimes, it's rooted in covetousness, envy. You see, we operate this way because we want to be in first place. That's the reality. The reason why our flesh does this, because we want to be number one. My flesh doesn't want you to be number one. My flesh wants me to be number one. And so this whole idea is obviously rooted in sin, but it's also like this insecurity that I'm not number one. And I don't like it when I'm not number one, and you don't like it when you're not number one. And when we operate out of that, we are often envying one another and boasting about what we did is better than what you did, what I have is better than what you have. We do it overtly, we do it subtly, and it happens in our lives. And when we do that, we are not loving each other. We're not loving our family. We're not loving our coworkers. We're not loving the people we're in a community with. Whatever it looks like, it is not love. Putting ourselves above someone else. Jesus talked about this in 101 ways and 101 places in the gospel. But one of the places that I'm reminded of when I think about the whole idea of boasting and envying and outranking and outdoing is when Jesus is talking to the religious leaders of his day. And he said to the crowds one time, he said, when you fast, don't fast like the Pharisees and the hypocrites. For they dress down, they dress in poor clothes, they paint their face, they walk around looking sad so that everybody knows that they're fasting. And when you pray, don't pray like the Pharisees who gather on the streets and pray out loud and make huge pomp and circumstance about their public prayers so that all the attention is on them. I'm paraphrasing. Jesus says, when you give, don't make a big show. Don't make a big deal. Don't announce how you're going into the temple. Everybody look, I'm putting my offering in. It's going to be a big one. Everybody check me out. That's what they did. And Jesus condemns that. Why? Because here are these religious leaders, these religious people wanting to outrank others. I want to be better than them. In my giving, my fasting, my prayer life, whatever it is. They're here, I want to be here. Oh, well, this Pharisee, he gave this much. Well, I want to make sure I give this much and let everybody know about it. Oh, well, Nicodemus over there, he's been fasting for 3 days. Well, I'm going to fast for 5, and I'm really going to put on the sackcloth and ashes, and I'm really going to let people know how much I'm fasting because I want everybody to know. Jesus says that'll be your reward then. The praise you get from humans, other people, that's your reward because it's not in heaven. That's not love. That's not love when we operate our lives trying to outrank each other. And that's what's happening when we give into our flesh, our sin nature, envying what other people have accomplished or have or do, whatever, their story. And in turn, we turn around and outwardly often trying to outboast them, feeding some sort of sinful insecurity in our own life. Now, oftentimes we would call boasting bragging. You guys want to hear a good brag story? My son, he's right here. The Rasian Asian, he's Vietnamese, if you guys didn't know that, so that's what we call him. A few weeks ago, he entered a Fortnite tournament at Sooner Fashion Mall. Is that what it's called? Sooner Mall? Sooner Fashion Mall? Whatever. Here in Norman. And he told us, Dad, I got to enter this. It's only $10. It ended up being like 40 or 50. But that's how it goes. Welcome to parenthood. So I take Lucas and a couple of his buddies to this Fortnite tournament. This, by the way, if you didn't know, Brother Wayne, you didn't know this is a video game. This is a video game, Brother Wayne, that people play. A tournament, not like sports, like pressing buttons tournament. How many of you have heard of like Fortnite tournaments? If you knew that, okay. Here we go. Lucas enters the Fortnite tournament, 80, 90 other junior high boys. I'm sure it just smelled like Mountain Dew and Doritos. I'm sure that's what they were sweating. It went to like 3:30, Luke, 4 in the morning. Another dad brought him and his buddies home. But I stayed up. I couldn't go to bed because I'm that parent. I had to wait up for Lucas. Lucas won the Fortnite tournament. He won. Yeah, no, please. Oh my gosh, no. Oh, this is not good. But here's the cool part. He walks in, hopped up on Mountain Dew and Doritos at 3:30 or 4 in the morning. I'm sitting in the recliner, trying to stay awake. It was a rough day the next day. And he walks in the living room floating on air. He throws down the prize money like he's a drug dealer. And he's like, boom! The braggadociousness, the boasting commenced about how much better at Fortnite he is than everyone else on the planet. Oh, he can beat me, there's no doubt about it. Now that's a funny story, and that's one thing. But we often, in our workplace, with our coworkers, with family, with friends, people we love, we're supposed to love, yet we envy, we boast, we put ourselves number one. I'm better than them. I'm on top of them. I'm above them. And this is not the sort of life that changes the world. That's not the sort of life that changes the world. People who operate this way are nothing according to the Apostle Paul. A life that is modeled with envy and boasting, it is not a life of love. See, we have to be okay with last place. Now, please don't misunderstand. Have goals, work hard, accomplish your goals, strive for excellence, do the very best you can at whatever your hand finds to do, even if it's Fortnite, Lucas, that's all right. Do a good job at stuff. That's a testimony too. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your dealings with people and how we treat others. Be willing to be last when it comes to people. Not to put yourself and myself above others, but to be okay with last place. Don't turn in. None of us ought to turn in to one of those religious leaders. Look at me, I'm number one. No. That is no way to love people in this world. You want to change the world? Be okay with last place. How do we love? Well, real love is not having to control other people. Real love is not having to control other people. Mom, dad, I'm not saying you shouldn't have rules for your kids. That's not where I'm going with this. No. What I'm talking about is the idea of dominating, pushing around, manipulating, bullying, keeping people in our grip, moving them around like a chess piece, like a pawn for our life. That's not love. Notice what the Apostle Paul says. Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy and boast. And here are the next two that go together. They act as one. It is not arrogant or rude. Love is not arrogant or rude. To be arrogant is to inwardly, this is an inward thing, where we inflate ourselves up. We think of ourselves as more than we are. We believe and think that we are more important than we actually are, more valuable than we really are. And the way that this inward arrogance is expressed is we are rude in our treatment toward other people. Why are people arrogant and rude? Like, what do they get out of it? Control. People are often brash and harsh so that they can push others around, so that they can get their way in a relationship with someone else, whether they're friends, whether they're married, whether they're coworkers, whether they're anything. The reason people often puff themselves up with pride, and that pride comes out in the way that they treat other people, is they want their way. They want to control someone else. And I keep saying they, but really it's me and you and us often do this. It's rooted, once again, in sin and in our sin nature. And it's an insecurity to want to dominate, manipulate, and have power over someone else. And oftentimes that is lived out in puffed up, prideful arrogance and being rude. The word there, rude, the Greek word, it's unbecoming. You might even translate it ugly. You've said that before. Why is such and such acting so ugly? The idea is they're rude, it's unbecoming, it's not put in its proper place with their behavior, and it's rooted in an inward arrogance, a puffed up, I'm better, I'm more important than what a person actually is. An overdriven sense of who a person is comes out in this rudeness to dominate and bully and push around and control. That is not love. That is not love. I'm reminded oftentimes when I think about this whole idea of control, as I think about this picture right here on the screen. You probably have seen this. I think it's a great image of what leadership is. And the word boss is okay, but everybody has probably had the sort of boss that is arrogant and rude and domineering and pushy and manipulative and controlling, cracking the whip, get it done. That person, they don't impact the world. Listen, there have been wealthy people, there have been kings, there have been politicians, and no one remembers them at the end of the day when people behave this way and live this out. But when a true leader steps down and is okay with being in last place, is okay with they don't live out this arrogance, instead of an inflated, they're deflated. What comes out of their life? They serve. They serve. See, real love is serving. Real love is being in last place. Not controlling people, leading people by doing, leading people by serving other people. That's how we love. That's what makes a difference in the world. Finally, this. Real love is not having to have it your own way. Notice the text. Love is patient and kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not arrogant or rude. The rest of verse 5, love, it does not insist on its own way. The word insist, require. demand. It must be my own way. What is that? A preference. A preference. Hey, life is great when it's all going my way. When all of my preferences are getting met. When the TV is just at the right volume, not too high, not too low. When the recliner is kicked back, not too far back, but not too far forward. When Jamie makes the sweet tea, not too sweet, but not, our last name is Sweet, so it can't be unsweet. Just right. And all of my preferences are there. All of the boxes are checked. I'm great as long as I'm getting my way, right? It's childish, isn't it? That's what we call that. That's immature. That's not love. That's not love at all. Real love is not having to have it your way. And we're talking about things here that are preferences. When many people have preferences, we all have preferences. We like things to be a certain way in a whole spectrum of areas. And when we insist on those things, we require those things, we demand those things, it's not loving. Nobody remembers that person. Nobody follows that person. That person never makes an impact in the world. That person, at the end of the day, is nothing. Nothing. Jesus, he kind of talked about the opposite of this. Not always having it your way. Being all right with that. What does that look like? Jesus talked about how, oftentimes we get inconvenienced in life and we don't get our way. Just when someone comes up to you and they ask for your cloak, he said, give them your tunic as well. That's being inconvenienced. Your cloak is your coat. Your tunic is the shirt off of your back. I don't like not having a shirt on my back. You would not like it either, trust me. But love is not insisting on my own way. Love is, Jesus said, when someone comes to you and they ask that you walk a mile with them, for some reason, you walk 2. You go above and beyond. When it's outside of your preference, it's outside of what you may want, it's outside of you insisting your own way, you give up that. You give up really yourself. You want to know how to be loving? How not to be a nothing? Be okay with giving. Giving of yourself, of who you are. I have this amazing gift to communicate 1,000 words with a sigh. Any other bros with me? You can communicate a whole lot of stuff with a sigh. Jamin, did you just point at Haven? Yeah. He pointed at his daughter. I saw it. Like, that's Haven. I can communicate the world with a sigh. Jamie can come to me with something that is not my preference. Will you do this? Will you do that? Can this happen on this day at this time? Something like that. Some honeydew or one thing or another. And man, I can communicate the world with. It was good, wasn't it? There's just enough growl in that to express a little bit of anger. There's it draws out long enough to I don't really want to. It has it all. It's a great sigh. At least Jamie, she loves it. When I sigh like that, I give her that sigh. She just communicates so much to her. What I'm doing in that moment is I'm saying, I'm not willing to do what you want. I'm not willing to do it your way. I have my preferences and I'm insisting on it and I'm trying to communicate that to you with this sigh. Be okay with giving of yourself and who you are. Being in last place. Serving. Giving. The whole idea here is being humble. Love is not puffed up. Love is humble. Love is okay with being second. Was saying, I'm second. I'm second to God. I'm second to you. I'm second to you. I'll be second to you. I don't have to be in first place. I'm okay with that. And when a person lives out that kind of I'm second principle, I'll come in second place to the Lord Almighty, to His wants, to His desires. I'll serve this person. I'll give to this person. I'll help this person. I'll put myself below them, not above them. I'll lift them up. I'm okay with that. That sort of person is a gospel influencer. That sort of person is loving, like 1 Corinthians 13 teaches. Be a gospel influencer with an I am second. I know it's a mouthful. With an I am second sort of love. One that says I'll serve. One that says I'll come in last. One that says I'll give my life. That's okay. I'm all right with that. That's the sort of person that influences the world for the gospel. That sort of person will never be a nothing.